Am I the a-hole for kicking my husband out of my children's father's funeral because of what he told the kids? I am a 36-year-old mom of two children. My son is 12 years old and my daughter is 9 years old, and their father is 43 years old who passed away after a long struggle with cancer 3 weeks ago. His death was expected and the kids knew their dad was very sick, but still, I couldn't get them ready to handle this kind of event. Their mental and physical health is my one top priority, and I want them to grieve their dad properly. My current husband, 37 years old, saw no need for the kids to attend the funeral after I said they were going with me. He said they're still young, but I said they had every right to be there for the final goodbye. He suggested he go with us then, and I wasn't sure, but I contacted my former in-laws and they said it was fine. My husband drove us to the funeral and kept making comments to the kids telling them how to behave, which was uncalled for. We got there and I brought the kids to stand near their grandparents, while my husband kept introducing himself to strangers, then went to stand next to the kids. I was standing from a distance but could hear the kids crying. I then started hearing my husband telling them to quiet down repeatedly. Not gonna lie, I felt bothered, wishing he'd stop. While the kids were crying, he loudly said, "Stop crying! Really, there's no need for this. It's not like he can hear you." And the kids just started sobbing at this point. I was stunned. I looked and saw my in-laws staring at me. I felt horrible. I walked up to him and whispered, I needed a minute with him. I made sure we were away and lost my temper, asking what he was doing. He said he was just trying to comfort the kids and help them get a hold of their emotions. I told him what he said was horrible and everyone heard it. He tried to argue that he was just trying to help, but I said he had no right to tell the kids how to grieve their father and demanded that he leave the funeral, but he threw a fit and said I was overreacting. I insisted, then he left later. After the funeral, the kids started avoiding me. They wanted to stay with their aunt, and I went home by myself and found my husband there waiting with an angry look on his face. He picked an argument saying I shouldn't have kicked him out of the funeral after he came to support me and the kids. But I told him what he said made the kids refuse to even come home with me. He said the kids are using him as an outlet for their anger after he's been generous with his time and effort, and this is how we repay him? By making him out to be the bad guy? I refused to keep going, but he kept pushing for an apology for this blatant disrespect I showed him. For more details, my husband never had a good relationship with my children's father. I was confused when he said he wanted to come to the funeral, but then I thought he did it for the kids. And for our top comments, from JSM1370, you're not an a-hole. However, this was too little and too late. Your kids are not too young to forget this now. Their relationship with their stepdad will be tainted forever. I would venture to say it's pretty much over. Your husband knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to minimize their dad's death. He was making it about him. It was a purposeful show. He was still there and he was the dad now. All he should have done is sit there, keep his mouth shut, and give you the support needed to help support your kids. I don't see therapy fixing any of this. Edit. When I made a comment of therapy fixing any of this, it is in relation to the children's relationship with the stepfather. Obviously, grief counseling would help the children and is definitely needed. Family therapy with mom is also going to be needed as well. Another comment from a sarcastic werecat. After the funeral, the kids started avoiding me. They wanted to stay with their aunt, and I went home by myself and found my husband there waiting with an angry look on his face. I would say that he is not only minimizing the father's death, His alienating original poster from her in-laws and her children. The children are avoiding original poster after the funeral of their father, and instead chose to stay with their aunt, while original poster, their mother, goes home by herself. They see the aunt as the safer choice, original poster, and the potential reasons are: first, they don't want to go home to original poster's husband. Second, he might have told them that their mother doesn't want them grieving, or that their grief is burdening their mother. Third, they think that original poster would side with him, or his opinion would be given more weight by original poster. Original poster. If you want to save the relationship with your children, you need to divorce him and go into counseling with your children. I want to emphasize, they choose the aunt as the safer choice after the funeral of the father instead of the mother. To the original poster, do you know what else he might have told them? Is he happy that the children are with their aunt? Gone? Is this perhaps part of getting the children to the in-laws permanently? Is his dislike of their father perhaps causing him to punish them for grieving for their father, the man he didn't like? If so, he's putting his dislike over their mental well-being. Is he usually like this? What do you think will he do, say, to the children in other situations when they need help? Do you think that he would even help them? For example, when the girl calls him from a party saying that she feels unsafe? My point being, can you trust him? What do you think your children will think if you continue the relationship? Do you think that this will embolden him further in his egocentrical thinking? Another comment from Throwaway 53563. Let me just say that my kids are very open and always tell me about the stuff that bothers them. If he had said something, I would have found out. No, but he was angry seeing the kids are using him as their punching bag, even when their dad was alive. I think that he was referring to my oldest, since my oldest has been going through some issues and has been distancing himself from all of us, not just my husband. Yes, I'm not gonna lie, there is some resentment my husband has towards my ex, and I never understood why. But to be taking it out on the kids and punishing them, no, I never allowed this to happen. In the past, he did act similarly, but not with the kids though. Mostly marital issues. Like I said, my kids are my priority. As their sole parent, now I've been feeling too much pressure and I'm overwhelmed. I've arranged for them to see a therapist. Perhaps family therapy might be considered, but I'm not sure if my husband will be open to it since he doesn't believe in therapy. But if it came down to my kids' mental and emotional well-being, then my decision won't be difficult to make. He just may have been thinking he was helping. But what bothers me is the fact that he's saying I've been unfair and cruel to him after everything he's done for us. Yes, he has a habit of throwing these allegations in my face in every argument, not just this one. Another comments from Dry Hearing 5266. Did you read what you wrote? Are you deliberately oblivious? Let me just say that my kids are very open and always tell me about the stuff that bothers them. If he has said something, I would have found out. No, they don't. If they did, they would have to come to you the first time he said something to them at the funeral. You would have been who they turned to. The fact that they didn't even bother trying to talk to you means that they have come to understand that you don't want to hear anything you don't want to acknowledge. My eldest has been going through some issues and has been distancing himself from all of us, not just my husband. This means you have failed your oldest. He doesn't tell you stuff that bothers him because he had to distance himself from you, not your husband but you. There is some resentment my husband has towards my ex. This is a freaking red flag and you never should have made him your husband with this. If he resented your ex, he resents your kids. But to be taking it out on the kids and punishing them? No. I'd never allow this to happen. But you did in the car, and you did at the funeral. You did on these occasions, and I'm sure you did other times, or else they would have expected you to protect them from him. The fact that they didn't mean that you haven't been their safe haven, their protector for a while. He may not have done it physically, but for sure, he did it emotionally. Like I said, my kids are my priority. Are they? Then why are they not with you now? You are there with the man who has emotionally bothered them. That doesn't show you prioritize them. I've been feeling too much pressure and I'm overwhelmed. You have been feeling too much pressure? How about your kids who lost one parent they loved and were emotionally abused by their other parent's partner and who had to seek solace in family members? What about their pressure? I've arranged for them to see a therapist. Perhaps family therapy might be considered, but I'm not sure if my husband will be open to it since he doesn't believe in therapy. You are doing it again, making it their problem. They have to sit down with their emotional abuser and get battered, so you get to slave your own conscience that you did all you could. Don't fool yourself. The kids need individual therapy and need to be away from your husband. He may have been thinking he was helping. This is you trying to make excuses and justify his behavior. You are trying to make it palatable instead of admitting you stood there and allowed your children to be emotionally battered by him. What bothers me is that the fact that he's saying I've been unfair and cruel to him after everything he's done for us. Are you freaking serious? This is the list of what you should be bothering. The fact that he was cruel to your kids should be bothering you. The fact that your kids didn't trust you to protect them should be bothering you. The permanent emotional damage done to your kids should be bothering you. The fact that this a-hole felt hard done by should be the list of your worries. What bothers me is the fact that he's saying I've been unfair and cruel to him after everything he's done for us. Yes, he has a habit of throwing these allegations in my face in every argument. Not just this one. Me. Go get therapy for yourself to address your self-centeredness, to find out why your kids can trust you. Another comment. This comment right here. It bothers the hell out of me that not only did she leave the children with their aunt to go home to this POS, but after she had this argument with her husband where he was clearly the a-hole, instead of immediately going to her children to comfort them and reassure them, she decided to go on Reddit and make this post. Original poster, if you haven't yet, drop everything and go to your children. Their father just died. They need their mother and keep a-hole stepdad away from them. If this were me with my children, I would also be sitting down with the kids for a heart-to-heart. For all you know, he said much more and much worse to the kids that you did not hear. They need to know that mom is in their corner and that they always come first. Another comment from Spiritual Check 5579. Unfortunately, those kids don't have a good mother. I hope the aunt is a good person. Original poster is too focused in keeping her husband pleased to care about the kids. Another comment. All of this add on the fact that the ex-in-laws heard this man verbally and emotionally battering their grandchildren and niece and nephew, and they'd rather be with extended family while in a vulnerable state rather than their own mother at home. I imagine the family of the ex-husband are now gonna have a lot of questions and be watching for any signs of reasons to pull those kids out of their first chance they get. If original poster continues to stay with her husband, and I don't blame them one bit, I'd do the same. Original poster. He felt comfortable enough to emotionally abuse them in front of numerous people at their own father's funeral. That should be your first clue that this isn't the first time he's done this to them. Now, tell us again. How do you put your children first?